For the evening. Please put your hands together for Ailish McCarthy, everybody!
That's right, make some noise! Yes, it is good to be here. It's good to get out of Dublin. I am from Dublin. I don't have the accent because I was raised by television. But I do speak Irish. Give me a woo if you speak Irish. If anyone heard that, that's liars. That's a sound of liars. So no, I do speak Irish, and the only use it has to be in my day-to-day life is, you know, when you're a millennial, you change job 4 times a year. Yeah, and you ring that lad on revenue, and he goes, "What's quid up the Ganoe and should well go round and give her a knee." Exactly. So for those who did pass Irish, see, I'd find you out. That means if you want to do your business through Irish, press 9. So I press 9, and I just imagine like a room like this, you know, and like in Cork, and then a telephone just starts ringing, and a dude just goes, "Fuck, is that the Irish phone?" So, you know, he goes over and he picks it. He shouldn't have lied on his TV, to be fair. And then he picks up his phone and he goes, "Do you quit?" And I say, "Do you smurr quit?" And he goes, "Ailish, is that you again?" And it is, it's always going to be me. But it's good to be back out, isn't it, on a Saturday night? Yeah, you look great, by the way, yes. Oh God, I played so much Among Us in the pandemic. I played it so much. Yeah, that instead of finding the imposter, I ended up finding myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does anyone even remember how 2020 started? It's okay. So it started with Australian bushfires, and I was like, well, that's what happens when you don't get checked twice a year. There's also a bit of feedback, but we'll figure it out here on the stage. Anyone getting that? I didn't make a New Year's resolution this year because we gave up freedom. So, but I did in 2020. So I signed up for naked stand-up comedy, and yeah, exactly what it says in the tin. And the comedians were like, "Jesus, Ailish, that's so brave." And I was like, well, think about it. It's a #1 gym motivator, and 2, it's going to be the easiest gig I ever do because no one's going to listen to me. And yeah, so give me a whoop if you're single in the audience. Free range Tinder, you guys. Less than a kilometre away, singles in your area, okay? Nah, it was really hard dating in the pandemic because my weight went up and down so much. I was worried I wasn't going to get verified on dating apps. I was, you know, the photo, and you have to do this, and I was like, that doesn't even look like me on my photos. Like, I was going to get a message going, "We could not verify your dating app. Your photos are at least 4 years old." And I don't think desperation had an entrance policy, you know what I mean? No, I'm single because I'm really, really awkward. My mates call me a thin Bridget Jones, and I'm like, well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying thin. But I am awkward. I remember I had like an office crush, and I told one of the girls in the office, he was like part-time, he came in on the Friday or something, and she goes, "Hey Ailish, you should ask Tom for lunch today." And I was just like, okay, everyone heard you. But I go to Tom, and I was like, "Hey Tom, do you want to go for lunch today?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'd really love that." And I was like, "Sarah, do you also want to come for lunch?" "Jenny, what are you doing for lunch?" I invited the whole office. I got the date, but I invited the whole office, so I'm just a little bit awkward. But I also realised in the pandemic I'm in a very different stage of my life to a lot of my mates, right? So one of my mates got pregnant, she was having a baby, and she rang me and she goes, "Ailish, guess what? I'm pregnant." And I was like, "Oh my God, what are you going to do?" And she goes, "Have it." And I was like, "Oh yeah." Because I was ready to be like, "We got this, you know, I'm here for you." Yeah, no, it was awful. And then I got COVID at Christmas. Yeah, thanks. You just looked at the surface, you got COVID at Christmas. And but I hated those tests. Just the long swab, they just go and dry and deep and don't even buy a dinner, you know what I mean? And I miss, you know, that we all had to wear masks. I miss the white person smile, you know, when you bump into someone in Tesco and you go, "Sorry." I miss that, you know, but yeah, we're slowly getting, I was also planning on being super broke, right? So in 2020, I had 3 30ths, 2 40ths, my sister was getting married, then a hen, UK tour. I was like, how the fuck am I going to afford all this? And then everything started to get cancelled, and I was like, oh no. But then I started to get my money back, and I was like, oh no. But then we're getting back into social circles again, and it's kind of awkward because it's, you know, it's people you hadn't really made an effort with over the pandemic, but now you're running the same social circles again, and you're like, oh, hey, how are you? I like learning what the people who are really cagey about their pandemics. I like knowing what they got up to, right? So I had to make Brian, and I was just like, "Hey Brian, how are you?" He goes, "Grand." And I go, "How is your pandemic?" He goes, "Grand." Jesus, I felt like I was there, So he's being cagey. I want to ask him what happened, and he goes, "I finished porn." Yeah. And the silence created between the both of us led me to believe that was true, you know what I mean? But one of the things that I'm most proud about in the pandemic, honest to God, was I joined Twitter, but not, like, I don't have Twitter because I don't have an opinion, but I made an alias of Saint Anthony. Everyone knows who Saint Anthony is, yeah? To those of you who don't know, okay, you're nodding, I'll let you know. So when we lose shit in Ireland, whether you're religious or not, isn't this right? You pray to Saint Anthony to find it. It could be a car, it could be your keys, it could be your wallet. But if you lose something, you say a prayer to Saint Anthony. And then he finds it for you, because we just don't take any ownership over that. I was saying, they don't have this outside of Ireland, by the way. I was dating a German, and I was trying to explain it to him, and he was just like, "No, in Germany when we lose something we find it." And I was like, "That's very German of you." So I made a St. Anthony alias on Twitter, and I was looking for tweets of people losing stuff, because that's the premise. You lose something, he finds it for you, and you go, "Thanks." And so some guy lost his earpods, and he tweeted, "I lost my earpods," and I responded going, "Where did you see them last?" And he was like, "I don't know, man." And other ones being like I was treating it like a customer service thing, like, "Oh, how may I connect your call? Hang on, I've got quite a long list here, as you can see. I'll get back to everybody." Now, I had the time, to be fair, so I ended up making a Tinder account for St. Anthony as well. Yes, and there was one of him with like fish and all the lads going so random, there was also a picture of him with baby Jesus going, "Don't worry, it's just my nephew." Why do lads put a photo of a baby going, "Don't worry, it's just my nephew"? I don't care. Yeah, no, but it's good to be back out again. I had like a gig in Vancouver in the last while. It's good to be back out. Has anyone been to Vancouver? I'm going to do the joke anyways. So there's a train that drives itself, which is amazing. Yeah, it just drives itself, and it knows when to stop and when to go, but it has a windshield wiper at the front. What the fuck? Who's that for? But when I was coming back, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Why did you have a windshield wiper when there's no driver? It's just being posh. But yeah, the plane was coming in too high of an altitude coming back, and it took an hour to land, and as we were coming in there was like sheep and cattle near the runway, and I was like, "Oh fuck, we landed in Cork." And then like it's good to be in Limerick. I had a gig in Cork recently, and my dad goes, "You're McCarthy, did you know that you've like 80 to 100 second cousins in Cork?" And I go, "Thank you, because I'm going to turn off my Tinder right now." I haven't met them, lads. I don't want to take the risk. But you guys have been amazing. I'm gonna finish on my favourite joke for you guys. Is that okay? Right. So I moved out of the house when I was 20, which is quite young for a dub. We like to be, the last one standing, don't we? But I had overstayed my welcome, and I was dating a lad who was living at home, and I was living at home, so there wasn't really much privacy. And I found myself with this opportunity one day. I asked my parents, I was like, "Are you guys leaving the house today?" And they go, "Yeah, why?" And I said, just want to hoover the house. And I asked them, "When are you coming back?" They're like, "We're back around 6. I was like, "Jeez, I could hoover the house twice." But they came home early, you guys. No, it wasn't nice, it wasn't pretty, yeah. And then the next day my parents were like, "Ailish, a word." Yeah, they weren't letting it go, and so I came down the stairs. So much acting, I was like, "What could this be about? You have summoned me, what's up?" So my parents said, "We came home early the other day and we heard something." Good for you. Then my dad said, "Jesus, and I thought your mother was loud." So I moved out of the house. That'll do it. There's some parents in the the audience here, if you want your kids to move out, right? It's not going to be pretty, but it's really effective. They'll be on daft.ie the next morning, you know. They'll be like, just let me couch surf until like just the embarrassment. But no, my parents. So sometimes they come to gigs and I do this joke and I point them out in the room with gas. They're obviously really supportive. And but I asked them, I was like, when did you guys know? And they go, when did we know what? And I was like, were you guys at the bottom of the stairs or were you in the kitchen going, Jesus, what's going on upstairs? And they said, we were outside. In the car. Waiting for you to come up for air. Yeah, and our neighbour is outside cutting the hedges. And we look over at him, and he looks back at us, and he just goes, don't go in. Just don't. And you guys have been absolutely unreal.